Hi, I'm Jeff, the SP Spaz, back for another video. And if you've made it this far and watched my other videos, then obviously you must love the sound of my voice and like looking at my handsome face. So that's why you came back for more. So I appreciate it. And in fact, this video, especially in this and the next few that I'm going to do, are especially dedicated to those that have viewed my channel and especially those that have responded to me. Because as I have talked about before, um, I crave attention and feedback, and giving me that makes me feel really good. Even if it's negative attention. If you sent me a message to say how stupid and blockheaded you think I am, believe it or not, I actually prefer getting a message that says that than nothing. The best way to really make me feel bad is to ignore me and not respond at all. Which I've gotten plenty of times, and including in relationships. So you can. It's real easy for somebody to hurt me if they want to, because it's giving me the cold shoulder and ignoring me is pretty much the easiest way to do it. So um, I decided to again, in a way, sort of copy NF Geeks, although they didn't come up with a concept, obviously, of responding to viewer mail, but they did do so on their videos after they had done enough videos to get some, quite a lot of feedback and responses. And now I've done the same thing, and I'm going to set aside, the ones that were, I got a lot of messages that were just people trying to guess my type. Um, when I first started, I just said I was SP, and I didn't really get into the specific type details. So a lot of people kind of took that as a challenge to say, "Well, I think you're an ISTP, and here's why." So I got I got some of those kind of things for a while, and even people who once I fully came out and said, I generally identified as an ISFP, and then I was like, but it could be an ESFP, and then um, in my last video about the myers-briggs test, I said, I actually officially came out as an ESFP. And, once I got more specific, then I started getting mail from people who said I was wrong about my specific type and saying, no, I really think you're a T, or I don't think you're an SP at all. Really, I think you're an INFP. I got several different, those kind of things. And like I said, to tell you the truth, that doesn't bother me. Now if somebody's going to say something like that, they're going to say, you've mistyped yourself, or question that. Then it's good if you have some kind of like reason for that. If you just say, well, you're really this other type, well, that doesn't really do much. Don't get me wrong. I still like getting a message that says something, regardless. I like getting messages that say the sky is blue. So I won't be surprised if I get a few that say that now that I've put that out there. Um, but there's not a whole lot I can do with somebody just saying, well, I think you're this other type. It's like, okay, great. But if somebody actually gave a reason for it, then that's more something to think about. If they say, well, I think you're really an ENFP, and here's why. Um, you seem like you care too deeply about abstract subjects like personality types, and that's more of an in thing. And you're so enthusiastic about people's inherent worth to society and things like that, and that seems to be more of a NFP thing. And and you ramble on about subjects and jump from thing to thing, so that seems like an ENFP thing. So whether or not I agree with that, which I don't obviously think that those things make me an ENFP. But if you were going to say something like that, then at least you've got some kind of evidence you're giving of here's my reason why I think this. So anyway, but for the most part, I'm kind of setting aside the ones that were just attempting to type me or telling me that I'm mistyped. Although, to tell you the truth, I'm very much would love to one of the Podler folks to do one of their PSAs about me. That would just be like a thrilling experience if that happened. So, um, you know, maybe. If I become big time enough that they feel the need to do that, that would be awesome. But anyway, um, so I did want to respond to some of the specific questions I was asked that weren't just what type are you, that were a little bit more detailed. And I'm actually going to take several videos to do this, because I don't feel like one or even two videos is going to be enough, because they'd be way too long if I got into really all the answers to the questions, because really I got some great questions from some people, and some of them it's been several months, and so I've really part of me feels bad that it took me this long to respond to it. I mean, I'm recording this here in December, of 2012, and these first questions that I'm going to read I actually got back in May when I first started the channel. So yeah, I'm a little behind, but I am a single dad. I've got a full-time job. I've got other things in life, and lots of baseball video games, of course. That's really what the time is spent on. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to click on down here to the first message I got when I first posted my first video. So this one I was very honored by receiving, and it's quite a long message, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. And in all of this, I'm going to not give people's screen names or anything, because whether or not they care or not. I mean, they may not care if I do this, but I figured since they didn't specifically say use my name, I'll stick to making it anonymous. But and I'm not. This one was such a long message that it's probably going to take me more than one video just to cover the questions in her message. But the first one was, she said, "I would like to see and hear you talk about how it was for you when you became a parent, and if it was difficult, and which way situations you felt it was difficult or even horrible, maybe. Have you the feeling that your family or friends maybe still see you as a constant kid? If so, how does that affect your role of being a father and to want to make important decisions?" Okay, first of all, thank you very much for the question. That's a really good question, because I think the subject of SP parenting is one that has definitely come up on personality type forums a lot, and because most of the personality forums and really internet sites that discuss Myers-Briggs and personality type stuff at all um, are there's so many intuitive types that outnumber the sensors, and especially the SPs. I think as it's natural that parenting forums online are highly populated by SJs, because those seem to be the people who most kind of want to network with other parents and talk about all the different issues when it comes to parenting, share stories or whatever they want to do with that. So there definitely is a little bit of a void when it comes to discussion of SP parenting, online or even offline. It's not something when you think of the typical gathering of SPs, most people tend to think of things like rock concerts or, bars or, things like that, where if you're going to like a sports bar to watch a football game, well, yeah, if you're with some other guys who happen to be dads, you might start, sharing a few things about your kids. Oh yeah, look, here's what my son did today. Oh yeah, mine's grounded for this, or so there's things that come up in discussion. But as far as kind of more in-depth things, it might not necessarily be something that really fits in that kind of environment. Um, and again, those are just a few examples of kind of stereotype views of SP environments. Obviously, I know that being an SP myself, that there are many other ways, places that we gather, and we're not all bar hopping rockers. I made that point myself in my video about SP myths and truth. So I will sometimes use those convenient stereotypes just to make a point when it comes to the commonality, I guess, of certain issues. And so anyway, all that was just to basically say that SP parenting is something that it comes up on personality forums, but it's usually discussed more by non-SPs, or it's discussed by intuitives who ask the question, hey, you few SPs that are members here or they're out there that are parents, can you comment on this? Can you help me with my own child, or can you, kind of give me a reference point on this? Um, so the question about did you feel when you became a parent? Obviously, that's a pretty general question, and a lot of different ways that I could respond to that. And obviously, a overwhelming amount of feelings went through me when I became a parent. Um, and it wasn't entirely new in the sense that I had never thought about what it would be like to be a parent before that, because I think most people probably by the time they're in their late teens, um, if they're not already a parent by then they at least think about the future of what would it be like to have kids, and what would my kids be like, what would be all the stuff that was involved in that, what would I name them. I've known a few people, mostly girls, that have kept like entire notebooks full of baby names they came up with, and stuff like that. So obviously I thought about being a parent long before I really was one. But it's obviously very different when it becomes a reality, and when at the age of 21, I heard the words "I'm pregnant," said to me for the first time. Um, I mean, in terms of it being mine, uh, I obviously had quite a range of emotions that came over me. And I like to tell people actually that I think I sort of made my first real stride at growing up that day. I think that was kind of like the day where it sort of hit me like, you can't just entirely be a big kid all your life. You kind of have to take a little responsibility for something. And once I did that, I got really excited about it, which again is another thing SPs tend to do, is whatever it is that we get interested in, we go hardcore on it. So once I knew, hey, I'm a father, then obviously there was a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to do about it. Some of which you can't really do much about from the beginning. When the baby is just chilling in there in the mom, there are things you can do. You make doctor's appointments, and you make plans for certain things, but there's a lot of it that there's not a whole lot you can do, and other than just be supportive, of the mom, obviously, in whatever way you can. And I think I was sometimes good at that, other times maybe not as good. I didn't overnight suddenly become super mature, unselfish guy. Um, in fact, I'm still not super mature, unselfish guy, but I'm working on some of it. But anyway, through the whole process of the pregnancy and birth and all that, there were obviously quite a few times where it kind of did become overwhelming to me. Of wow, I'm really am a father. I'm going to have a son, and this is an amazing thing, and uh, seeing my son born, and being out in the world as a separate being, but seeing especially as he started to really come into his own as far as just his features and his looks and everything. Obviously, he looks a whole lot like me, and so there is kind of a feeling of seeing like a tiny version of yourself, and I didn't feel that way in terms of that he was going to be a clone of me, because I knew that wasn't the case, and I knew he always would be his own person. And that was really, I think, probably the feeling that drove me the most, other than just the general duty feeling of just being a father and trying to be protective and supportive and provide whatever the basic physical needs were. That when I started to think about actually parenting beyond that, then my focus was mainly on giving my son opportunities to do cool things, to have experiences, to learn about the world, to experience the world, to encounter different kinds of people, different places. I kind of wanted to. It's cheesy, but there's a song by Creed, "With Arms Wide Open," and I think that's what it's called. Anyway, been a while since I heard it, but it was the writer and lead singer Creed like had it was sort of written to his son of here's, I want to show you all these things in the world, and welcome to the world, here's how everything is. And that was pretty much a lot of the feeling I had, was kind of introduce my son to everything, and there was so much I wanted to share with him, and opportunities to give him fun things to do, and a lot of that, stayed same for many years. Uh, One of the things through the magic of modern technology with DVDs and all that is I've been able to share a lot of movies and television shows and things and radio shows from my childhood with my son. So in some ways, he's more familiar with some of the older stuff than he is with some of the new stuff because, I don't have cable TV or satellite or any of that. So we don't really watch a whole lot of television, but he's still seen plenty of television shows. It was just, saw them on DVD, and a lot of them were old, old to him. To me, they're, the stuff I grew up with. So, in a way, that sort of was the way I passed on those things to him. I shared the things that really, I enjoyed or made an impact on me. Um, so, um, anyway, the kind of second part of the question about reconciling parenting with being a big kid and all that. That's another really good question, and it's something that I've struggled with the entire time I've been a parent. And now, he's as of this recording, about 13 and a half, almost 13 and a half years old. Um, so obviously, I've had to deal with that a lot. And when he was really young, for the first several years, it wasn't as much of an issue because really, the only kind of parent mode that I had to really be in was, as far as discipline and things, was to make sure that there were certain rules and boundaries that he had to obey, and if he stepped outside of that, then there were consequences and things. But a lot of time, so much of the time, uh, we could sort of go with the flow because things weren't all that serious or important or things. And then obviously as he's gotten older, things like school have gotten tougher. He started to act out at school and and get into discipline problems and things like that. And so there became more serious issues that I had to deal with. And it is kind of a tough reconciliation because really, I mean, my first instinct is to say, who cares about school? Stay home, skip school, stay up all night playing video games and eating candy, and enjoy your life and forget about what the man tells you you're supposed to be doing. I mean, that's my first instinct. He doesn't know. I mean, I suspect he probably knows a little bit, but he doesn't really understand fully just how difficult it is for me to pretend that I really care that much about his homework. Because I don't. But I do care about his life as he grows up and his life as an adult and having opportunities to do things that are fun and cool and will give him a fulfilling life. I, I did a whole other video responding to Mike from NF Geeks having this proposal of the scholarchy, which was all about, how formal education should give someone more power. And the reality is, of course, that in some avenues it already does in terms of the opportunities you have, the choices you have are more open if you have a college degree. Now, obviously, there's plenty of things you can do without it, and that was kind of a lot of my point of that video, but it does open some doors that you wouldn't get otherwise. And in order to get, and obviously not all college degrees are equal either in terms of people's perceptions. There are some universities and colleges that are more respected, and a degree from them tends to be something that opens more doors. And then, of course, you have the military possibility and the things that opens up. And, in order to get college in the first place, before that, you have to have a certain level of academic achievement in order to qualify. And so my focus now, as he's gotten older, has been more on getting him to accept school as a necessary evil and try to make the most of it and learn the skills that it takes to put himself in a position where he can maximize those opportunities. And so that's kind of the focus that I have now. It doesn't change my overall feeling. It doesn't change my instinct. My overwhelming desire is that we have a screwed up system, people value the wrong things, and to say the hell with it and do what you want to do. But the thing is he can do that, but there are things that will be beneficial to him to somewhat conform to in order to get to the point where he can really do that for real. And with my life, I have, the example of there are things that I do because they're beneficial to the situation that I'm in as a father, to have a steady job and a steady paycheck and be able to save some money, and it's allowed me and us as a family to do some really cool things that we might not have had the opportunity to do if I had just kind of stayed as like a drifter going from job to job and just saying, oh, I feel like doing this. And, those opportunities might not have presented themselves if I didn't sort of accept a certain amount of boundaries on my occupational life in order to make that happen. So, anyway, hopefully that answered the question, because I want to wrap this up now, but I will move on to more viewer questions in the next video. But I mean, I literally could talk for hours on that subject of SB parenting, whatever. So if there's any specific questions that you have that this video brings up that you want to know more about specifically, then feel free to send me a message, either a comment on the video or send me one directly private. That's fine. Either way, if there's any other specific things that you want me to answer, either on video or just in a quick text thing, if it's just a simple question or whatever. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll move on to the next one.